So my purpose this morning is to open the meeting and then to invite Wilma Wilkie, our Democratic Services Manager, to conduct an election. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. The first item on the agenda is election of Chairman. Can I call for nominations for the post of Chairman for the coming year, please? Councillor Bates.
Thank you. I'd like to propose Councillor Francis Burkett as Chairman of the Greater Cambridgeshire Partnership.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that nomination, please? Thank you. Any further nominations? Can we put that to the vote, board members, please? 3 members in favour.
Can I just say something on this? I'm a non-voting member of the executive board, but I'd like to put on record that I fully support this.
Thank you. Those in favour? 2. I therefore declare Councillor Burkett elected Chairman.
Can I welcome Councillor Burkett to that role, thank him for his support as Vice Chair and also the other board members, say how much I've enjoyed being Chair, and say that I will continue to take on responsibilities.
Thank you much indeed, and thank you, board members. Can I place on record, I think, the whole board's appreciation for Councillor Lewis's work. Councillor Herbert shows our relationship. Since the very inception of what was the city deal and is now the Greater Cambridgeshire Partnership, I've never known anybody work so hard and so dedicated and such long hours to pay such enormous attention to the views of everybody in doing the work. It's therefore my great pleasure when we move on to the second agenda item to elect the Vice Chairperson to nominate Councillor Herbert for that role.
Thank you. Do you have a second for that?
I'm happy to second that.
Can I again also add the same comments?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Assuming there are no further nominations, can I ask that to put to the vote, please? Thank you. I therefore declare Councillor Herbert appointed Vice Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Herbert. We all look forward to working with you in your role as Vice Chairman, so thank you for that. Well, could you possibly kindly move on to agenda item 3, apologies for absence.
Yes, Chairman, we've had apologies from Mark Reeve.
And I should explain, it's been a rather unfortunate clash, because since we set the date of this meeting, the Combined Authority is having a meeting this morning. That explains why Mark Reeve is unable to be here, because he's going to the Combined Authority. It also explains why the Chairman of the Assembly is unable to be here to talk on behalf of the Assembly, because he's also at the Combined Authority meeting.
As my substitute.
As your substitute. And this afternoon, the Combined Assembly has a strategy meeting, which Mark Reeve is also at, so that's why he can't be here all day. The Combined Assembly, the Joint Assembly, has a deputy chair, Councillor Watherspoon, who was going to come, but he didn't realise, obviously, until the last minute. He was due to be in Liverpool. He managed to cancel that meeting, but his mother's in hospital, so he's with her. So we're without a representative from the Assembly, but we've got the Assembly's minutes in writing, and the Chief Executive, when necessary, is going to guide us through that. So we've done our best to get the Assembly's representations. I'm going to move on to agenda item 4, declarations of interest. I'm just going to go down the turn. Councillor Herbert.
Nothing to declare.
That isn't already in your...
Yeah, nothing to declare in relation to the items other than what is declared, and there isn't any relevant conflict of interest.
Okay. Councillor Bates.
No, I have nothing to declare about what is already well known in my declaration.
Thank you. Councillor Almondina.
I suppose I should declare that I'm a resident of Gilbert Road in relation to item 10.
Okay. And I'm going to say rather a lot. I've said this before, but I was asked to say it before by certain people last year, because it's a new civic year and this is a new executive board with a new chair. I'm going to repeat statements I made last board meetings on the 13th of October and the 10th of November. I'm saying nothing new, I'm just repeating them, and I'm going to ask them to be minuted today, but I don't propose to repeat them in future. My register of interest is lodged with South Cambridgeshire District Council and is available for viewing on its website, just like Councillor Bates's and Councillor Herbert's. I have no other specific interest to declare. I am not predetermined on any matters, and therefore I intend to participate in all the discussions and vote on all agenda items. However, it's good practice to remind people of the following items, which I, the legal officer and the chief executive, do not consider to disbar me from participating in any discussion, including on the Carpen to Cambridge Better Busway scheme. I particularly mention this because everybody knows I am the district councillor for Carpen and Antony villages, through which that bus scheme might or might not go, and therefore naturally know many people in those villages. When the Carpen to Cambridge public consultation was launched in my capacity when I was a district councillor, I coordinated and published a response to the public consultation that was branded as Cambridge Bold. At that time I was a member of the City Hill Joint Assembly, which was an advisory body with no decision-making powers. When I became a board member with decision-making powers, I ceased doing any Cambridge Bold work. The initiative lapsed, and at that time effectively ceased to exist, except to remain on public record as one of the consultation responses. Separately, I'm a member of Cambridge Past, Present and Future and a patron, and was a board member of it for 4 years. This organisation owns the Carpen Countryside Reserve, and separately owns Summer Field in Carpen adjacent to Cambridge Road that stretches uphill. Separately, I was at Trinity College, Cambridge, and I sit on its finance committee, and the college owns Moor Barnes Farm in Magnley. Separately, I and my employer undertook the following work as a debt advisor to the university and certain colleges. Back in 2012, my employer advised the university on a £350 million bond issue. 2013, it advised 17 colleges on a £150 million debt private placement, for which my firm received fees. These transactions were in the public domain, and I was part of the team providing advice. My firm currently has no retained or ongoing relationship or work with the university or colleges, or any expectation of future work. Finally, I was born in Cambridge and have lived here on and off for most of my life, so I naturally know lots of people who live and or own property along the Carpen to Cambridge corridor. I'm sorry that took a lot of time, and I'm not going to repeat the future meetings. It's already in the public domain, but I thought it was a good idea to say I was getting to start a new civic year. So now we're going to move on to agenda item 5, and we're going to go through the minutes, and I'm going to ask board members whether they're happy to take the minutes. So if we go back to our agenda pack, we're all happy. I read toilet papers, so I will sign them later. Thank you. Now we move on to agenda item 6, which is headed questions by members of the public. 25 questions were submitted from members of the public, and I'm going to take most but not all of them, but I'm not going to take them now, as is former practice that Councillor Herbert established. I'm going to take them as we reach each relevant agenda item. I'd just like to mention that some of the questions did exceed our 300-word limit, and I'm going to take them, but in future I think we may be more ruthless on the 300-word limit. There are a lot of public questions. We're going to take them from that microphone sitting over there, but I'm going to try, in the interest of everybody's interest, to get through this meeting. If you can summarise your questions in 1 minute. You don't have to worry. We know what your questions are, because they're all typed out and printed. That should be on everybody's chair, and they were handed out. If your summary could be limited to 1 minute, I'd be very grateful. Finally, the ones that I'm not going to take are, absolutely as we've been doing before, people who are not present. We will not take their question. We will write to them with the answer. People who asked a question that is not on an agenda item, again, we will not take them today. We will write to them. And there were 1 or 2 questions which were total duplicates of questions asked at the Assembly and were satisfactorily answered at the Assembly, so we won't take them as well. But we will otherwise take them, and we will take them according to this piece of paper. We move on to agenda item 7, petitions. I think actually this is a typo, because we previously said that petitions will be presented to the Assembly, and then the Assembly Chairman or Vice Chairman will report those petitions to us as a board. So there are no petitions, and in future we won't have that as an agenda item. We then move on to agenda item 8, which is reports and recommendations to the Joint Assembly. I've already explained that Councillor Kevin Price, as Chairman, is not here because he's at the Combined Assembly, and Councillor Tim Waddesdon is unable to be here as Vice Chairperson because he's with an ill relation, but we've got their report and they concur with that approach. We contacted them. So, we're now going to move to the first substantive item on the agenda, which is agenda item 9, the Rapid Mass Transport Strategic Options Appraisal. For those who've got the agenda pack, we are now on page 15. of the agenda pack. And Mr. Tunstall, I think you're going to introduce this. What we're going to do is take the feedback on this from the Assembly, from the Joint Assembly. We've then got an elected member, Councillor Cantrell and Councillor Tomlinson, who want to talk. We've then got, Councillor Tomlinson, there's a question. We're then going to have Chris Tunstall's officer presentation, and then we'll have the Executive Board debate. So we will start with the Assembly feedback on this point, please, from the Chief Executive.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the feedback from the Assembly is that they supported the recommendations that are in front of you today. They did, however, agree one amendment to recommendation 4A, which was to add the words high quality independent. So 4A would therefore read, commission a high quality independent strategic options appraisal study into rapid mass transport, and then the rest of the wording continues. And also to add a timescale to it at the end of that recommendation, so to deliver by November 2017. So for completeness, the wording of 4A would read, commission a high-quality, independent strategic options appraisal study into rapid mass transport options for Cambridge City and the surrounding travel-to-work area in conjunction with the Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Combined Authority to deliver by November 2017. The second recommendation stands.
And how strongly, Rachel, did the Assembly feel about? What was their voting on that?
That was you agreed unanimously with the amendments were.
Thank you. So, gentlemen, that's what's before us. Councillor, do you want to say something, or should we take Mr. Cantrell first?
I can take others first, please.
Yeah. So, shall we have Councillor Rod Cantrell as an elected member who requested to speak on this?
Chair, thank you. My question is fairly straightforward, so I'm not going to give you any introduction. I'll just wait for your response.
And we're going to take them in a group after Mr. Tomlinson has asked his question.
I'm asking a question today on behalf of Roger Tomlinson. So Roger Tomlinson's question is that the Mayor, James Palmer, of the new Combined Authority, has agreed with the Greater Cambridge Partnership to commission a study to establish an overall vision for transport for Greater Cambridge, including light rail and tunnelling options. However, consultants previously commissioned by the officers of the County Council and the former City Deal have shown bias for buses and excluded other options. The community doesn't feel that they can rely on their independence, which was indicated when one consultant told the LLF that he was preparing a rebuttal of LLF views for the GCP. The question is therefore, will the Executive Board please appoint new consultants with no previous involvement in planning for current schemes and options, and no contractual or personal ties to the County Council Directorate of Economy, Transport and Environment, or other conflict of interest, to provide a genuinely independent study of the wider needs for transport without influence by the officers?
Thank you for that question. I'm going to ask Mr. Tunstall, the officer present, to give an introduction to this item, answering those two questions, and then we'll have a board discussion.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. The comparative study is a joint study, as being mentioned, with the Mayor. It's looking at an options appraisal to see what would be best for Cambridge in terms of the historic nature of Cambridge, its environment, the heritage. It's looking at a wide range of schemes. One of the questions is about predicting on just bus all the time. We are actually looking for them to look at light rail, we're looking at heavy rail, we're asking them to look at ABRT, Advanced Rapid Transit. We're asking them to look at anything elsewhere in the world that they're aware of that would suit a city of this size and nature. We've also been asked the question whether or not the study will be totally independent. Actually, in the brief, I believe it's 811 of the brief, we asked specifically what other connections they have with Cambridge in terms of previous schemes or in terms of any relationship with any officers or anybody have done work previously for the County Council on Greater Cambridge partnership schemes. So the recommendation for you is to approve the brief. This brief is going to the combined authority at the same time today. It's a joint brief. It's done in conjunction with the combined authority. They've been party to the writing of it. We are seeking the contribution for this. The actual recommendation is for 150,000. We don't believe it will cost more than in total 150,000. The reason we've left it at 150, we feel that this report needs doing, this options appraisal at the start of an extensive piece of work. It will look at which is the preferred options that we could take forward into feasibility studies and so on. It may be that the combined authority doesn't agree. I doubt that would be the case, but we're seeking approval for the full amount. Hopefully, when they approve it, it will be half that amount. They will be looking to pay for half of it as well. In terms of looking at future schemes, question was asked about whether or not we should wait pending the outcome of this. This is very much the early stage. We are looking to future-proof schemes anyway. Camborne to Cambridge has been mentioned. If, and the Mayor has indicated, light rail has got to run somewhere. We have problems going down Manningley Road as it is. Whether it be light rail, whether it be bus, whatever it might be, it has to get through the traffic. So this report will tell us what sort of rapid transit we could be looking at. It will still not deal with the issue about how do we get it into town. We are asking the consultants to look at tunnelling, so we're asking them to look at a wide range of things. We're asking them to look at operating costs, how much the capital costs could be. So this will give us a very good idea. But in terms of schemes that are already ongoing, we aren't making decisions today in terms of Camborne to Cambridge. In fact, the decision will not be until the middle of next year. So nothing is pending this report. No decisions being made, and in any event, we are looking to future-proof. Chairman, happy to take questions.
Thank you. Have we got any questions of clarification for Mr. Tunstall? Councillor Bates.
Yes, thank you. Can I just actually ask when you would anticipate the report being made and the consultants to come back to us and also to the combined authority? What's the time frame, please?
We're looking for November, so it can come to the November board.
Councillor Bates, any other questions for clarification? Professor Almendinger, any questions for clarification? Councillor Hurd, any questions for clarification? I've got a couple of questions for clarification. I don't know, Ms. Tunstall, have you got the full agenda pack? So these are very quick questions. Page 18, there's a map of the entire area. I just wanted to be able to clarify, this is not just a study merely on one corridor, this is a study of the entire region.
It is. This options appraisal is looking at what would be most appropriate for Cambridge. It is not at this stage, that would be the subject of future feasibility studies, looking at any particular corridor. It is also looking wider than just Cambridge itself, so it is looking as far as the travel to work area, which is beyond the Greater Cambridge area. So at this moment in time, all we are looking at is what would be most appropriate for the city, the size and nature, and Greater Cambridge and its travel area, the size and nature for this area. That's all we're looking at, not for particular routes. That will be subject to further reports.
Thank you. And then it's still on page 18 and going on to page 19, 3.1. This is the brief we're talking about, the important brief. You're going to ask the consultants to look at light rail, monorail, fast rapid transport, affordable very rapid transport, anything else they come up with. And at the top of page 19, underground as well as overground. So everything is in the mix.
It is, Chair. People might wrinkle the nose up at monorail, but I have been in places before where it has been put back to us, well, did you consider monorail? Did you consider cable cars? We are asking them to look independently at everything and anything that they feel would suit that's the appropriate word here, or words, would suit an area, historic area such as Cambridge.
Thank you. Two more questions back on page 16, paragraph 8, procurement. The option appraisal will be jointly procured and managed with the combined authority through normal procurement procedures. So this is partly one of the questions about who is chosen to write. We're just going to follow, or can you confirm, we're going to follow normal, well-established procedures of the elected authorities?
We are, but we're also asking them for any ties that they've got on schemes or to individuals within the area.
Thank you. My final question, you may need to look this one up, is page 21, 7.1, 7.2. A project board will be established. Allowance should be made for a series of meetings to inform senior officers and members of progress. Could you just give us your thoughts on who or who not might be on the project board and how you think there will be meetings to inform senior officers and members with a capital M is presumably elected members?
That's got to be refined, Chair, but my initial thoughts would be yourself, the portfolio holder for transport for the Greater Cambridge Partnership, would be the Mayor, would be the portfolio holder for transport on the combined authority, and possibly the two chief execs of the two organisations.
Thank you. We're still doing questions of clarification. Councillor Bates.
Apologies, Mr. Chairman. I did turn over the page before the meeting and forgot to ask the question where I turned on. On page 18, it's the map. Just for clarification, I think there might be a little bit of an error there. If you look on the map near St Ives on the A141, there is a blue mark, as you might say, where development might be. Can I just remind the Assembly that Huntingdonshire District Council's local plan is out for consultation at the moment. That particular site is not being recommended by Huntingdonshire District Council, so I think it could well be just a matter of a slight what I call timely issue when the map is done and the consultation, which is only just an issue, just for clarification.
So the right thing to do is Council to draw that, Mr. Townsend, to draw that to the attention of whoever is the eventual author of the report.
We will.
Question clarification from Councillor Herbert.
I've got three. One, partly for the public record. The map on page 18, Mr. Tunstall, effectively looks like the rising sun with the various radials. But can you just confirm that this is effectively a two-zone study? Because the map in itself doesn't really capture that.
It does. I can't point you exactly in the brief, but I'm sure in the brief it makes reference to an inner and an outer hinterland. The inner being the issues I mentioned earlier about coming in, down Milton Road, down Manningley Road. We all know that last mile. So what we're asking them to do there is look at other options. Tunnelling may be one of those. But it's very much a donut, for want of a better word, with the inner being the city itself and then the outer hinterland.
My second question is, there isn't any specific mention of rail in the brief. So rather than try and reopen some of the detail, because clearly the combined authority is also discussing contributing the other 50%, can we ensure, Mr. Tunstall, that we have very clear references and clarity about the synergy and integration with rail, including both known, possible and, let's call them, potential investments in rail within this geography?
We will.
Thank you. And my final is a more detailed question, and that is, presumably, following up Councillor Burkett's question about the contract procedures, there will be a single officer who will be the lead officer on this. Have we identified that person yet?
No, not as yet. It will be between ourselves and the combined authority, so it would either be me or their appropriate person on the other side.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for clarification? So I think we now move on to the board debate. Do any board members want to mention it? Or everybody? So Councillor Herbert, you start.
Okay. Well, I could make a long speech, but we haven't got time for that. So I'll make a moderate speech. So first of all, I just referenced the fact that the City Deal Greater Cambridge Partnership was already discussing a study similar to this, and we had discussions also in joint meetings between ourselves and Assembly members, because what we call Tranche 2 from 2020 needed to include a radical look at different options. The purpose of my question to Mr Tunstall about the two zones is the belief that it's all subject to analysis, that we may well come up with slightly different transport options in the central core, however that is defined, from further out. A point that I do think is important to make is that this has to be evidence-based analysis, and I'm quite happy with the amended wording from the Assembly, because I, for one, don't prejudge the outcome. I know that the Mayor is a great enthusiast for light rail, but I think we really do need to go into this in a neutral fashion. Responding to the two questions that were raised, so is this a reason for halting other work? Well, I think the best way to respond to that is I think that's best addressed when we also hear from the local liaison forum in the afternoon. But I will advocate that there is no reason for delay. And in terms of the question about the neutrality of the consultants, then I would clearly expect that to be the case. I mean, I think there's implicitly in some of the work that's been done, it's been in the brief. So the brief for the West Cambridge route along the A428 made various assumptions about us being the most likely route. It didn't stop the consultants looking at other options, but within the costings and the budget, I think one of the reasons that the options of on-road, off-road busway were looked at was just that was in the brief. So whilst people might knock consultants, I think there's an awful lot of criticism which I think is unfair and sometimes incorrect, albeit that I take the point of the question because clearly there's been various assumptions about the way that we've looked at different projects, and clearly it's vital looking at this project that it is looked at independently. I think if we just look at the inner zone of the city, we have the facts of life that we do not have space above ground to add significant transport infrastructure. So that does severely constrain us. And this could be a major opportunity depending on what can be invested in. We need to look at who's going to actually come forward with the investment. So I don't think, Chair, that the study that we're going to get by the end of the year will come up with final answers, but it will come up with a direction. A key issue for light rail is who's going to invest in it. And when we're also looking at it, the reason I raised rail, and I'm going to stick calling it rail because I hate the term heavy rail, is that clearly there's a synergy and overlap, including which route the East-West Rail is going to follow, and a number of those things. So I think I just hope that the other board members will be as enthusiastic about this study as I am. It has been something that we were considering in any case, and if I just try and make my final point, then obviously we will be looking when the report is published to see what further work needs to be done. And I do think that the deadline that Mr Tunstall mentioned of June next year, including in relation to choices on the A428, gives us significant opportunity to press other issues about fundability, deliverability of some of these options, and also timescales, because if some of these options are not going to be deliverable in the next decade, then that forces our hand sometimes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Herbert. Councillor Bates.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. I think the most important word in here actually is independent, and I think we do need to clarify and make sure that it is totally independent. I've heard what Mr Tunstall has said, and I'm content with that. I'm also content with the words which I think went to the Assembly as well, so I'm quite prepared to accept those recommendations and those changes to the recommendation, and would be happy to propose that at the fullness of time.
Professor Antony.
Thank you. I would agree with everything that Lewis and Ian have said. I just want to make two very brief points as well in relation to questions. We're going to come and talk about the 4 to 8 after lunch, but I think in relation to the question about clarity, it's extremely important to distinguish between routes and modes of transport that go on those routes. So I wouldn't accept that there is a lack of clarity here. I think for a variety of reasons it's important to continue with the evaluation of different routes while this important study is going ahead. The second point really is, and I was looking for this in the terms of reference, and I think we're all under the assumption that this will happen, but I just wanted to get some clarification that we will be, I suspect, looking at a range of different approaches to transport in Cambridge over quite a long period, some of which may come and then be superseded. And we shouldn't be looking at, for example, an ideal approach in 15 to 20 years' time and waiting for that to emerge. So there may be some interim solutions. So building in an approach that allows for interim solutions as an evolution towards a different approach in the future, I think is also extremely important. And really that was the point I wanted to emphasise in relation to how the study is undertaken as well.
So thanks to Professor Antony. I'd agree with that. This is about delivery. It's not about coming up with a sort of pie-in-the-sky theoretical idea that might be delivered in the 22nd century. It's about delivering something, because we have got people who want to get from A to B right now, in 1 year's time, in either 2 years' time, and we've got to deliver something for them now and in the future. That's why actually I think our strapline was really good, to do things now and in the future. And we must bear that in mind and ground ourselves in delivery, so I'd agree with that. For myself, I'd say I would support the recommendation in front of us. This is the vision that we want. This is the wider view, as long as it's grounded in reality, grounded in delivery, and delivery needs affordability as well. And I think it's a timely thing to do and the right thing to do. So I'm going to support the recommendations as amended by the Assembly as well when we come to a formal vote. We're going to have our 5th board member, Mark Reeve, in absentia, and I got an email from him. I would like to confirm that the LEP supports the Assembly decisions made on the 9th of July, along with their additional recommendations. So I think we can say that if Mark was here, he would be the 5th board member also supporting it. So I'm going to, Councillor Herbert.
Well, I just think it's because it wasn't made crystal clear. The proposal for funding from us is up to £75,000. So clearly, we welcome the fact that it's being done jointly with the Mayor in the context of the wider geography and his role. But it's a 50-50 project, and our commitment is up to £75,000.
Well, I think, Councillor Herbert, the Carpen Authority is voting right now in real time.
Yeah, they haven't yet.
They haven't yet.
Are we first?
We're first. If they, per chance, in half an hour turn it down, I think we will go ahead with this on our own at 150,000 if need be. But this is an important study we ourselves want to do. It's great if the Carpen Authority in half an hour's time joins in with us, but I think we'll do it on our own.
Okay, no, I take that point, and therefore recommendation B makes sense.
Are there any other questions, clarification or discussion points, or should we move to the vote? Great. I would like to propose that we take these 2 recommendations as amended with the recommendation of the Joint Assembly. Are there any seconders to that?
Second that.
Just before we vote, Professor Antony, I really don't have a vote, but if you did, what would your views be?
I'd support the recommendation.
Thank you, I should now proceed to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Carried unanimously. Thank you.